I made sure that I watched a lot of videos of like animals being like tortured in those industries. So when I walk in the meat aisle, when I walk past the dairy aisle, like I can't even look at it.
You say that you're vegan and everybody wants you to, sit there, you be this perfect model of it, and you never ever do anything bad.
A lot of individuals still don't realize that, it's the diet that causes them such problems.
So I wanted to look at what are the things that I can do to mitigate that risk. One of the biggest things I can do is limit inflammation. How do you limit inflammation?
Welcome to Real Men Eat Plants, the podcast that challenges the stereotype that a plant-based diet is only for Eve's offspring and green smoothie anarchists. We're here to show you that real men can thrive on a plant-based diet, and that it's not only good for your health, but also for the planet, animals, and most importantly, your libido. Okay, maybe your libido shouldn't be more important than the planet, but we're just being realistic here. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of plant-based living, sharing inspiring stories, exciting plant-based news, and highlighting the achievements of individuals who have embraced this empowering way of life. So grab that green smoothie and settle into your favorite spot, and let's embark on an exciting journey together. Real Men Eat Plants is your hub for inspiration, information, and connection within the vibrant world of plant-based living.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Real Men Eat Plants, the podcast where we dive into the heart of plant-based living, breaking down barriers and showing the world that strength comes in many, many forms. I'm your host, Bryan. In today's episode, it's all about facing down temptations and trials on our journey towards a healthier and more compassionate lifestyle. So joining us today, we've got some amazing guests who've navigated these waters themselves and have come out stronger on the other side, I'm sure. So I'd just like to take a quick minute and let each of them say hello and introduce themselves. So welcome to the show, Bryan.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bryan Herskowitz. I'm a film writer, producer, director, also a teacher and a martial artist. I'm a world champion in both judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and continue to compete and train in that.
Thank you, Bryan. We appreciate you being here. And Maxim.
Yes, Maxim Simoy. I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, one of the world's top whole food plant-based body recomposition coaching program. And I'm happy to be here. And yeah, Bryan's a badass. He didn't say he was a world champion earlier when we were talking.
Oh. I forgot to mention that.
He underplays it, I'm telling you, Max.
Yeah.
So, and last but not least, we got Will joining us.
Yeah, so I'm Will Loazo, and I'm a founder of Pro Healthy Choice, and I'm a certified holistic sports nutritional consultant and practitioner, personal trainer, and also a published author of 2 books.
Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you diving in. And like I said, we're sort of unpacking a temptation, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But I thought we would do a couple other little segments throughout the show today just to break it up a little bit. So I did find a couple really interesting news articles that have come out in the past little bit. And I thought we would just maybe talk through 1 or 2 news articles for a second and get your reaction and thoughts on what's happening in the plant-based world. So we're calling this the Vegan News Roundup, where we're spotlighting some of the latest and most exciting developments in the world of plant-based living. So the first story I found was really the rise of plant-based seafood. So in 2024, it looks like it's shaping up to be the year of plant-based seafood, with sustainability and simplicity steering the market. Consumers are now turning towards healthier, less processed options. From vegan tinned fish to gourmet seafood alternatives, they're using mushrooms, walnuts, legumes, and crafting delicious ocean-free. Because I know a couple episodes back we did the little kill counter, and it was just amazing. At the end of an hour-long podcast, we had almost 10 million animals out of the ocean killed in just 1 hour. So that just goes to show how big of a deal this plant seafood is. But what are your thoughts and reactions? Have you tried any of the plant-based seafood options out there?
I have. a couple of different ways in a couple of different places. There have been in a few different places that I know that do vegan sushi, which is an interesting concept in and of itself. And you can go and you can get, vegan maguro, which is supposed to be a tuna substitute, and it's pretty good. The restaurants that really specialize it. There's one in Houston and in Las Vegas called Chef Kenny's. Give them a little plug there,
Yeah.
and they can really, it's not the same, but it captures the essence. And if you're jonesing for that sushi flavor and that sushi taste, and the experience of holding it, with the rice under it, not a bad way to go at all. And I have also tried like the packaged tuna from I had mentioned there's an all vegan grocery store here called Besties, and they
Yeah.
have vegan seafood and vegan shrimp. I've also tried. I've tried it both with Thai food, where it's at restaurants, and also purchasing like fried shrimp, and all not bad, really not bad. I mean, if you're committed to the vegan lifestyle and you still have that draw, that temptation,
Yeah.
it's not a bad way to go at all.
Remember back in like 2012 when I first started this journey, there was like Brian mentioned, there was a sushi restaurant. I forgot the name of it, but I know they had like two or three locations. And I've never had real sushi before, so I'm not really sure how sushi tastes, but I just
Yeah.
like the creativity that they used to, to make these dishes. They were colorful. They had the rice, and they had the nori wraps, and that was my first time trying all that stuff, and it was good. I liked it. As far as the package stuff, I think there was this company. It was called, I think it was called Good Catch. I'm not sure what the name of the company was, but it was one of those. You go in Whole Foods and it's in the frozen aisle section, and it was like fish sticks or something like that. And I like to try these things just to see how they taste. And it tasted great. The problem is when I looked on, I started learning to, read nutritional labels, and the sodium on these products, a lot of these products, through the roof. You know what I mean? So it tasted good, but I felt the difference afterward because I had already started eating more uncooked fruits and vegetables. So my body was really sensitive to the salt. But yeah, some of these products taste good, but I don't know. I don't think they're healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Max, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, as I say, my experience is similar to both these guys. It's the sushi spot. I've never been a type of guy to just buy fish before I was vegan, and so when I went vegan, it was never something that I really looked for. The only place where it was kind of missing was in the sushi, and there's this delicious spot in Agora Hills called Mackin Sushi, and honestly, like the best vegan sushi I've ever had, like across the world, everywhere I've traveled. I when I first brought it up, I was like, "Hey, like, are you bullshitting me? Like, this looks like fish. You can see the piece of fish and the little nerves and everything in it." I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be sick if I eat this. I'm gonna be really upset." And they're like, "No, like it's vegan." And they showed me the package. I didn't buy from this company in like in the UK, but yeah, they have crab, they have shrimp, they have salmon. Yeah, and it's absolutely delicious. You can't tell the difference. And ultimately, the taste is masked by the rest of the ingredients in the sushi, but it just gives it that really cool visual look.
And it's such an interesting thing because I do think out of the we have a good life cycle for the cows and the pigs and the chickens, but we are just destroying the oceans and haven't, in my opinion, really reached a sustainable path for the fish that we pull out of the ocean. So I encourage everybody out there that's listening that hasn't tried some vegan seafood alternatives, give it a try, help support that market and that industry in some fashion.
Yeah, and no mercury
Thanks for sharing
poisoning.
some thoughts there. The other article that I thought was that's right, exactly. And no plastic, no mercury poisoning.
Yeah.
Great point, Mac. Was another article on just the plant-based job growth. The plant-based movement is well on its way. The industry seems to be surging. 32% increase in job postings just over the past 3 months in this plant-based sector. So the boom is not only reflects a burgeoning demand for plant-based products, but it points to a sector's robust health and its vital role in the future of our food. Are you guys seeing that as well? Do you find you're not losing employees or anything, or how do you sort of see it as as part of that trajectory that we're all on together.
I'm
It
gonna have to opt out because I'm kind of a one-man band. I don't, my employees are all doing just fine, thank you.
Yeah, we have several team members, and we always try to make sure we hire vegan employees. And 4 years ago it was a little bit more challenging to find people that were vegan to kind of just keep the value of the company. But it's definitely been a lot easier to find good vegan employees. So before they were very far and few. Yeah.
Thanks, Max. Well,
Yeah, similar to Brian, I'm just myself. But I will say this: I remember during the lockdowns in 2020, how there was news stories coming out about the conditions of the factory workers that were working in those, factory farms and how dangerous it was. And I guess that was a good opportunity for more people to learn about those environments. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't think about where their food comes from. So yeah, I do think that it's definitely positive news if we can steer employees away from that direction.
I love it.
It's one other thing that I'll just throw out is that, I can't remember any other period of my life, and I'm a bit older than the rest of you guys. I've been around for a little bit longer, where there was any kind of uh, uh, sustainable growth in a vegan direction. Now there's Kevin Hart has a vegan restaurant that he is franchising. It's on the corner of Highland and Sunset here in Los Angeles. It's, there's he has others. There are in my neighborhood there are no less than 10 vegan restaurants. Some are, comfort food, down home cooking, Mexican food, Thai food, uh, burger places, and not just one, several, and many of them are chains. And I couldn't imagine having a sustainable franchise in a vegan restaurant around the country. Now that's happening, and it's happening more and more frequently. And those places are actually providing delicious food, healthy. Well, I don't know. That's something you have to tell me.
The,
I
the
can say
sodium's
that
there.
there are, when you apple to apple it, when you look at a burger and then you look at a vegan burger, and particularly now, I think Beyond Burger just got their heart healthy stamp on their new formulation. They're really starting to look at it not just as are we capturing people's imagination with the taste, but are we also helping them be healthier? And I think
Yeah,
that is a focus for the film food industry on the vegan side.
agreed. Agreed completely. Well, let's dive into the temptation because I think that's what half of this battle with the food is on that front. So thanks for helping me unpack some of those news stories. We'll try and do that segment a little bit more. So let us know in the comment box if you like those bits and those insights. I'd say we all have been faced with moments of temptation on our plant-based journey, whether it's the smell of the barbecue at a family gathering or something, or just the convenience of fast food when we're out on a busy day, especially during that time period where like we're transitioning and you're like you haven't figured out some of the keys to the kingdom yet. So I just wanted to dive in and navigate the waters, trying to figure out temptation and to help unpack that. So, what tempts us? I mean, for me, it still to this day is chocolate. Like I know I'm a chocoholic, and unfortunately, 90% of all the chocolate out there has dairy or something bad in it, or it's chocolate covered bacon for that matter. So like I think Brian and I were joking before the show even started, and I think you said it very, very well, Brian. All chocolate is vegan when I see it.
Yeah,
So
that's my superpower.
yeah, how do you unpack that? And what are some of the temptations that you guys face?
Outed me. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Brian.
That's okay. So yeah, for me, it is, I was not a big meat eater in terms of red meat, but I did eat a lot of chicken. So it's smelling the roasted chicken at the grocery store. Chocolate is the big one. Chocolate is the one where, I sometimes it's like there's an old joke. No, I won't go into it. But there's a way of looking at it and saying, my superpower is I can take any chocolate and make it vegan, no problem. So there are There all are alternatives. There are oat milk and almond milk alternative milk chocolates, and that's one of the things that I think people miss because you can find dark chocolate that's vegan, and that's
Hmm.
not that difficult to find. And there are certainly a lot of brands, even going into your grocery store, they're there. But finding something that really replicates that feeling of the soft, moist milk chocolate is difficult because now you're looking at milk, and
That's right.
but there are a few companies that have alternatives that are pretty good, and I can't remember the names of them, but if I can think of it, I'll let you know. But Besties has a bunch of them. I know you can find them on Amazon. There are alternatives. I One of the big temptations for me has always been Thanksgiving because you're going to meet, with a group of people. They're all having these, incredible, huge roasted turkeys with stuffing and all that goes with it. And the first couple of years that I went vegan, that was really hard because you would
Hmm.
go, you would smell it, and I had a couple of vegan alternatives that were beyond not good, that were like aggressively bad, and I went, this is not going to work. So, but actually, the alternatives, going and getting the turkey loaf from a vegan place, and using that Gardein, I think makes one. There are a few other companies that make them, and they're pretty good. And again, I'm sure they're loaded with sodium. I
Yep.
think you do have to, if you're watching sodium, you got to be careful with that. But so is the turkey. So is everything else. So if you're just talking about, switching one evil for another evil, switch the one that does the least damage to the world and to your health, if you can avoid it. So that's my philosophy on it. But the chocolate is a tough one, and I have to admit, once in a while I fall off the wagon. I'll have a Hershey's Kiss or something, and feel
Hmm.
guilty for a day, and then I'll get back on. Not
That's
and
right.
that. But I think that's somewhat like an alcoholic. I think you have to forgive yourself if you fall off the wagon. If you're at a restaurant or you're at a party and the only thing they're serving is something that is not vegan and you eat it, don't beat yourself up. Just tomorrow, don't eat a fish. Don't eat a dog. Don't eat a meat. Don't eat anything that's not vegan.
That's right.
I don't know why I said
Max,
dog.
what's your thoughts?
Yeah. So I'll share it from two different perspectives. I'll share it from like the vegan standpoint and using alternative, but also from like a health fat loss standpoint, because that's ultimately the world that I live in all the time. I think like there's a lot of companies that have gotten a lot better at making alternatives, like Brian was sharing with the chocolate. I think the big one that I hear all the time when people want to transition to eating plant-based is, "Ah, I can't let go of the cheese. Like the cheese is the hardest one to let go." And I feel that we didn't really have good alternatives in the past. Like, I don't want to call out Daya, but man, it was like melted plastic strips when you put those in the oven. It didn't really look too nice and it wasn't that great. But now there's a lot better, like Miyoko's, I think is one of them. There's a lot better like vegan cheeses that kind of emulate the same texture and taste as real cheese does without the negative impact. On the flip side of using vegan products, I'm a little bit more extreme in that I made sure that I watched a lot of videos of like animals being like tortured in those industries. So when I walk in the meat aisle, when I walk past the dairy aisle, like I can't even look at it. If you see me in a grocery store and you don't come and say hi and you just look at my behavior, I'm looking at the ground or I'm looking at the ceiling when I walk in the meat aisle or the dairy aisle or the fish aisle. I just can't look at it because I've seen too much of it. So that's kind of for me. I can't even like go back. I'm going on a decade of veganism this year, so I'm excited. It's been a long time, and from a fat loss standpoint, I just think it just comes down to putting systems. For myself, I used to have a big history with binge eating, so I love donuts, cookies, chips, cookies, I like ice cream. I love cookies. I said it twice. Um, Ultimately, it was about putting systems in place and not keeping those things in my house. Never going to the grocery store hungry. If I was with my partner, being like, "Hey, don't let me buy cookies." And so just putting little systems in place to make it harder for me to make the wrong decisions and easier for me to make the right decisions. Yeah.
Love it. Will, do you have some thoughts on this?
Yeah, you all mentioned a lot of key points that I went through. In the beginning, that's when it's the most difficult part when you're trying to make the transition. And the thing with food is such a personal ritual. So it's tied to a lot of culture. It's tied to a lot of memories, and that makes it extremely difficult to give up. Um, so some of the things that I did was to curb that a little bit was educate myself more. So that's what I always stress to a lot of people. If you know not only what you're doing, but if you know why you're doing it as adults, like when we were kids, you told a kid not to do something and the kid's going to do it because the kid doesn't understand or she doesn't understand why you're telling them not to do it. So you got to understand, get a better understanding. That's what helped me tremendously. Um, chips. Chips has always been tough for me. And these companies are getting smarter and smarter because they're marketing them better. So they'll tell you they'll use blue corn or it's non-GMO. And you're like, oh, non-GMO. I just learned about GMO. So it must be good if it doesn't have it. And then you're eating it. And so that was tough for me. But having said all of that, fries are still still extremely tough for me to pass up. So like Brian mentioned, from time to time, I'm not going to kill myself if I have a craving for fries, I'm going to eat fries. You know, chances are my body is going to respond to it, and it's going to tell me that that's not the way that I should be going. So I'll just get back on the path the next day, and then continue with my healthy eating. So
Yeah, I think that's a big thing to it is you say that you're vegan and everybody wants you to, sit there, you be this perfect model of it and you never ever do anything bad, kind of thing, or break the rules or whatever. So I think we all find ourselves in those situations and we do once in a blue moon. I think some of us have more willpower or perseverance than others. I do. We had Paul Chatlin on a few episodes back, and I think he said it really, really well. Like, if I'm there and I want to stick to my guns today, then I just don't eat anything at the dinner or whatever. Like, I'm just gonna skip that meal. So fasting is a good alternative now and then as well, and we all should probably fast now and then. But I guess you touched on it, but I want to unpack it a little bit more. Like the social situations and navigating them is another biggie, right? From weddings to work events, and the pressure is there. And I definitely have brought some vegan dishes to those kind of events, or just have that conversation starter. Like, I mean, heck, even this morning I went to a breakfast event, and the only thing that they had that was vegan was a bagel, and I don't really want a bagel, right? So yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts in some of the social situations, and what's your tips? Max, you want to start us off?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I've curated my life in such a way that everyone around me is vegan, so I don't have to deal with that too much. Um, when
Well
I
done. I'm jealous.
Yeah, so my whole world is pretty much vegan. But when I met my now wife, she's Filipino and Chinese, and so it's heavy culture of like meat in the Filipino culture, and her mom's from the Philippines. So when we went to a restaurant, it was it was pork, it was chicken, it was like the deep fried food. It wasn't like some of the healthiest options. And that was my first time I was exposed to someone eating chicken in front of me in like again almost 8 years at that point. And so yeah, honestly, I just had vegetables while I was there. I've gotten past the aspect of I need to eat the same food as everyone when I'm at a restaurant, because I guess I've just been doing it for so long that I'm like, everyone knows I'm vegan. No one argues with me anymore. I just think it's harder if you're newer to it and you're transitioning and people know that you're newer, then they know there's like some give, right? It's like, hey, just, one more time, it won't do anything to you or blah, blah, blah. And so people are way more willing to apply pressure if you're transitioning, if you're newer to it, because it's not a thing that's a part of your identity yet that they have to respect. And so I can see how it can be more challenging for people that are
Hmm.
transitioning. Like I said earlier, man, just watch documentary like Christspiracy, Cowspiracy, all those documentaries, and then once you look at chicken, you'll be like, oh, I can't look at that. I'll just throw one thing. Chef Babette, I had the opportunity to meet her at the Christspiracy premiere here in LA a few weeks back, and I found a clip from her on Rich Roll, and she mentioned something about like if a human burns their skin, right? What's the thing that comes out, right? The liquid. It's going to be pus. It's going to be like skin juice, right? If I'm going to put it that way. And he's like, what do you think happens when you put a chicken in the oven? It's skin. So people are just like, oh, that's chicken juice, right? Like that's pus. Like you're literally burning the skin of a chicken, and people think it's normal. So anytime I see some type of animal in front of me, that's all I think about, and I just cannot look at it or even the thought of consuming it. So yeah, that's that's my point.
I've seen that video. I know exactly what you mean, and it didn't click until I heard it expressed that way, and then it's just like, yeah, my goodness, we rationalize it in a weird way. Uh, Will, what's your thoughts?
All right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I want tofu tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
I grew up on Long Island, New York, and when I was making the transition back in 2011, 2012, just me going to the grocery store and putting a whole bunch of colorful fruits and vegetables on the conveyor belt, and you feel all the eyes staring at you like, what is this guy doing? There's no meat, there's no processed food, and just having to go through that before even going to the social events and having to deal with family members and friends that are not used to your transition. And, of course, the whole, where do you get your protein comes up. And it took me, like I said before, having to really, go back into the research to know and reinforce, hey, why exactly am I doing this? And how do I answer it? How do I answer those questions and concerns? Because, it's coming from, a genuine place if it's a family member or friend. But how do I answer that without being defensive and without being argumentative? You know what I'm saying? So once I started to do that, then it became a lot easier. And, like you guys mentioned before, I became more knowledgeable in how to, bring something for everyone. So I'll bring my own food and I'll bring something enough for everyone. And, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you want to join what I'm doing, go ahead. And more times than not, when they try your quote unquote vegan food, they like it because, it's plants and that's what we were designed to eat. So, just going through those situations and, like I said, becoming more knowledgeable, that just made the process easier. And now I'm at a point now where people come to they look to me for advice because they notice the difference, in health. And, it's actually a good feeling to be able to offer help without being preachy. So it's a challenging transition, but I wouldn't trade the way I transitioned for nothing.
Yeah, well said, well said. Brian?
Yeah, so I've been vegan now for about 5 years, 4 years. I still get the eye roll from people, when you go to a restaurant and you sit down and you say you're looking at a menu and going, "Oh, let me see if I can find something that's not, that's vegan," and asking, what is this cooked in, or is there butter, or is there milk, or any other issues that you might have with a dish. And you still get this, "Oh, come on, it's not going to kill you to do that." And there is a point where what I basically do is just kind of nod and smile and say, "Yeah, I'm going to do my thing." But there are times when you're placed in a position where it's awkward, where you don't have those options, or you're at a restaurant where there's just absolutely nothing. They don't cook in either lard, or they don't have added milk or butter, or some sort of non-vegan items on the menu. And then you're faced with, do you just have a glass of tea and wait? And that's generally what I do, is I try to figure out, but I also try not to put myself in those positions anymore. So
Yeah.
one of the things I'm always looking for when people say, let's go out somewhere, is I look at the menu and I look at, is there an option? And I don't have to have 30 different options. I just have to have one thing that I look at and go, they have salad, great. They have balsamic Brussels sprouts, fantastic. Whatever it is. I don't need to have 30 different options. I don't need to have a whole menu. Just knowing that there's something that people can eat. And I do find that more and more restaurants are accommodating people and
Yeah.
open to saying we have things for those people who don't want to eat animal protein or animal byproduct.
And it's as long as it's not overcooked pasta and soggy vegetables, like
Yeah,
that's their
sometimes that's
default.
okay too. I'll take that.
That's
I'll take that approach too.
yeah.
A plate of
When,
fries, man. That's all you
once
need.
in a blue moon, I don't mind it, I
Yeah.
suppose. That's right.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but I mean, I think we all touched on it, so like two more little things to unpack on this temptation side of it. There's my balloons. Is like the peer pressure is real, right? I mean, this is the Real Men Eat Plants podcast, and so for us, especially men in society, they equate the manliness with the meat eating. So like, I know, I think I'm going on whatever 13 or 14 years now on this journey, and it's like I've been just very very comfortable being a leader and setting the example to try and help shape other men's perspectives on this. But I still to this day get the peer pressure from my brother or family members or whatever, or just somebody that doesn't know me that well that wants to try and chide me a little bit. But so like what is some of that, and then the second thing is like what are the you know, temptation is not just about the food on that front. It comes in many other ways that we're tempted as humans. Like I feel like it comes back to we have to know as men or just as people in general, like what are our core values and what are we not going to allow in our life, whether that's swearing or pornography or whatever it is for you, personally that you've decided, like, what how do you have this barrier in your head to say, I'm going to bend the rules and have a piece of, milk chocolate twice a year. I know I'm going to break. That's okay. But like, these are my hard and fast lines. Like, I don't think I'm with Maxim on this. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to eat chicken, no matter if it's dipped in chocolate, right? Like, that's not my thing. So I'm just curious how you've unpacked the peer pressure and how you define these like temptation lines in your head of something that I will bend the rules on once in a blue moon versus no, I'm never doing that.
You guys all mind, I'll go first.
No worries.
I'm
Go
trying to
ahead,
time.
Max.
I'm trying to time the delay. Yeah. So honestly, I realized at one point, and not to go too deep, but that the pressure I only cared it was only an amount of pressure if I cared what the person thought, and it wasn't pressure if I didn't care what the person thought. And some of you know my background or not, but I was a caregiver to my late partner for 5 years to breast cancer, and she passed away several years ago. And so I was already vegan at the time when I met her. And I got bugged all the time, like, yeah, you gotta be a man, you gotta eat meat, because I came from the world of bodybuilding and powerlifting, right? I was 240 pounds, I deadlift my Honda Civic, I was eating out with a bunch of beer drinking, steak eating guys for breakfast. And then I completely transitioned to being vegan. So I did get heckled a lot. And then when I started becoming a caregiver and I started to have more empathy, compassion, emotional intelligence, I was like, man, that's what being a man is you being able to show up for the people that you love, regardless of how it is. Whether you're skinny or you're big or you're eating steak or drinking beer or smoking cigars, it doesn't change anything. Because I know a lot of steak eating, beer drinking, cigar smoking men that mistreat their wives or that wouldn't show up for the people that they love. And to me, that's not being a man, even though you're doing all those societal things that people used to define a man. I was like, man, if you have the ability to pour your heart for the people that you love and show up for them when it's the most inconvenient, that's what a man is being about. And once that shift made for me, like there's nothing no one could ever tell me about not being a man, because I know that most men in my situation would have left. And I'm like, yeah, you can drink all the beer and steak and cigars that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make you a man, because I know you're not showing up for the people that you love when it actually matters. So yeah, that's my little story.
Well
I
said.
love it. It's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Will, you want to go next?
Yeah, for me, working in the box gyms as a personal trainer, I used to see a lot of individuals that would do tremendous things in the gym, lift tons of weight and what have you, extremely athletic individuals. And over time, I would see these people, same people, either pass away or have, real serious, health issues. You'd be like, well, what happened to such and such? I haven't seen such and such in the gym for a while. And then, another gym member would tell you what happened. And it'd be some type of, real chronic disease. So, you know, a lot of individuals still don't realize that, it's the diet that causes them such problems. So, as far as like the peer pressure and all that, I mean, just my own progress over time, I'm in the best shape of my life now, and I know how I used to eat before. So, just my progress has just given me more and more confidence. And I'm at the point now where it's like peer pressure doesn't. It's funny because at the time that you're really, thinking about that, it's everything. You're thinking about other people's opinions, and that really weighs a lot, and takes up a lot of real estate in your mind. But now that's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking about just observing how so many people are suffering from preventative disease, and how I can be some type of influence to try to help them. So that's what I'm always trying to figure out, and it depends on the individual, depends on their personality, depends on a lot of things as far as how you approach them. Sometimes you approach them by not saying anything and just by being an example. So yeah, it's an interesting journey, but yeah, I no longer feel the peer pressure, but I know a lot of people that are starting, they definitely do, because we're living in um, arguably the most unhealthy country in the world.
So, Brian, I want to turn it over to you as the kids come back in the house here, and get your perspective, especially from the judo side of it. I'm sure there's a story there too.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't think of any at the top of my head, but I'm sure there are. There are a couple of different things. One of the things is that the people that are in my sphere, when they have objected, I think I mentioned on the last podcast that my brother and he was also a martial artist, also a judoka, and one of the best in the country back in the day, and uh, he has arthritis, pretty severe arthritis, and he but he's in incredible condition. And at 67 years old, he the other day called me and said, "So I can do now 18 pull-ups," and I'm like, I don't want to curse on your podcast, but I was not pleased because I'm in the gym going, I can get three, I can do it, like struggling. He's a monster, but he became vegan after he was giving me kind of needling me about it, and I said, let's sit down and watch this one documentary called Game Changers, and let's look at what they have to say. And this was shortly after he had been diagnosed with the arthritis, and he jumped up and went, I can do this. I can do this. And his wife was like, oh gosh, now I'm going to have to do a whole vegan thing. She was not happy about it, but ultimately they both changed. And I can't necessarily attribute that he can do 15, 16 pull-ups at 67 years old to being a vegan, but I can't discount it either. And the fact is that he's still, just in a phenomenal shape for a man who's almost 70 years old, and it's extraordinary. So the argument that I use is example. I'm 66. I may not have a six pack. I got a three pack, maybe a four pack somewhere. But I'm in pretty good shape for a guy who's 66, and I still compete with kids who are 20. I still train on a daily basis, and judo is not. It's a contact sport. It's not a, we're not just doing. No offense to karate, because I've done karate too. It's not just kata, and it can be really rough on your body. So the fact that I'm still doing it and still there at this point in my life, I have to attribute it to something. And I look at the facts, and I look at there was another documentary by the same people recently where they took sets of twins, identical twins. One was put onto a healthy omnivore diet, the other was put on a healthy vegan diet, and then they compared the two. And there were pluses and minuses to both. But the things that to me are most important in terms of long-term health, in terms of longevity, and in terms of being healthy late in life, where I am now, those are important to me. And to try and impart that to other people, to me, it's not so much about, being defensive when people are negative about the idea of being vegan. It's rather saying, well, here's some information. You should check this out. Here's the reason I'm doing it. You know, I have found that I have high calcium in my arteries, and I don't. That's a real risk for me. And I wanted to look at what are the things that I can do to mitigate that risk. One of the biggest things I can do is limit inflammation. How do you limit inflammation? Well, inflammation, one of the things that causes inflammation is any kind of animal protein. So if you cut that out of your diet and you add fruits and vegetables, suddenly you're in a better place in terms of your cardio health. So those are the things that I start to talk to people about, and I explain, hey, you know, I mean, I do it for many reasons. I do it for the environment. I do it because I love animals. I don't want to see animals suffering, and I do it for myself, for my health. But I start with my health, so that when people say, well, you know, why are you doing this? I say, well, look, I've got heart issues. If I don't take care of myself, I'm in a position where I have, you know, calcium score of 425, which is in theory, this was something that was diagnosed years ago. In theory, that's a 95% chance of a cardiac event within 5 years. I've had nothing. When I go to the cardiologist, he says, you're in great shape. It's perfect. But I have this calcium, and it's a ticking time bomb. So if I don't do the things that I'm doing to help my health in terms of limiting the animal protein and trying to mitigate the inflammation in my blood, I'm basically saying, screw it, I don't care. And I do care. I care about the people around me. I care about the life. But I also care about the planet, and I care about animals. So I want to do everything I can for that. But I start with that personal level and say, I'm doing this for my health. You don't have to do it forget about it for you. You know, if you don't, I don't mind if you want to eat meat and not live as long. You know, I'll come to your funeral. I don't mind. You know, so when people start hearing that, they go, well, wait a second, hold on. Do I want to live healthier? And it's not just living longer. There's nothing worse, I think, in life than being in a position where you're old and you're past your expiration date, and you're just hanging around. So I want to be 95 and healthy. I want to be the guy that's still getting on the mat and still moving around and still going on trips and still enjoying life at 95, not staring out a window drooling.
I hope you're on the I hope you're on the podcast at 95 with us still, you know, popping in to
That's not that long. It's not that long.
Dump some wisdom on us. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have 95 years of awesome wisdom to dump on us for sure. So, I mean, I guess to try and summarize it, you know, temptation is indeed everywhere. So it's not limited to just the dining table. It challenges us in many areas of our life, as you heard us each talk about. But each time we make a choice that aligns with our core values, we strengthen, in my opinion, our commitment to a kinder, more sustainable world. So whether it's the food or the clothes that we wear or how we interact with the world, staying true to our beliefs is a powerful statement. So, you know, really quickly, you know, just go around the horn and give us, you know, 10 seconds on some closing thoughts on temptation. So, Will, kick us off.
I would say one of the things I tell people to do all the time is to observe nature and observe the other animals, because I think that we've become disconnected from other animals to see how they interact with nature. We are part of nature. We need to connect with them. Biophotons in fruits and vegetables and from the sun is the easiest way to connect. And once we connect, it just becomes easier to just follow a healthier lifestyle.
I love it, Will. Thank you. Thank you. Max, tee us up some closing thoughts.
That whatever you think is worth it is not worth it. So even, you know, oh, just a little burger here, a little bacon there, a little bit chicken there, a little bit of fish there. Ultimately, once you get sick, you would take all of it back. And again, I saw it firsthand. You'd give all the money you have, everything you have, just to be able to get your health back, just so you can feel like a normal person. So whatever you think is worth it, it's not. Because once you lose it all, you realize how important it actually was.
True, true, true. Mr. Herskowitz.
Yeah. So temptation's a bear, and it is something that we face every day in all kinds of aspects, including food. And those people that fall to temptation, you know, forgive yourself. Get back on the horse. Try to focus on the next day, the next moment, and don't worry about the consequences of that one misstep. Forgive it yourself and try to prepare so that you're not putting yourself in the position to be tempted. As you were talking about, bring food with you, have other alternatives, pick places where you know you can eat well. And if you have some place where you know you're going to go and they're going to have cake and you really want that cake, bring something that gives you pleasure. Bring a vegan brownie. Bring something that you go, okay, this is going to be my cupcake. I'll put a candle on this and do it that
That's
way.
right. Thank you guys. It's been a ton of fun unpacking temptation with you, and I feel like there's some other ways we can do it. I wanted to flip gears a little bit. I'm going to put you on the spot in sort of a new segment, and it's sort of like the on the spot vegan recipe. And one of the ones that I've been trying to figure out and I have not mastered yet is vegan popcorn
Mm.
because we all love our popcorn, but plain boring popcorn stinks. And so I'm just curious if you guys have a vegan popcorn recipe that you're really, really proud of. And so I have to give it credit. I spoke to Rachel Brown earlier this week, and she is the author of For Fork's Sake, a book, to help people come to the plant-based lifestyle to a degree. And she's got some great little tips, but I'm always trying to figure out like how do I get my nutritional yeast to stick to the popcorn better? So I love that's my combo. That's my little recipe tip is nutritional yeast plus popcorn. And you can't use the butter, and I don't want to use the oil. She told me to try out pickle juice. So I am going to try some pickle juice this weekend and spritz my popcorn with a little pickle juice. And I am sure that that's going to get the nutritional yeast to stick to it and make this cheesy, delicious popcorn for me. But what is your secret recipe for popcorn? Who wants to go first?
Well, let
I
Max go.
haven't eaten popcorn, I don't think, since I started this journey. That's just weird. It was one of my favorite
Okay.
things to eat, but I don't even eat it.
Well, are you going to try the pickle juice plus nutritional yeast now? Is that intrigued you?
Sounds interesting.
You'll have to report back to us, Will, next episode. Max, do you have a secret popcorn recipe you want to share?
Well, I was gonna say depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a muscle building phase and I have more calories, I'll do coconut oil. But if I am doing a fat loss phase or just trying to stay lean, I'll usually use water. So pickle juice is actually really smart. I don't know why I never thought about it. I would just like spray water on the popcorn and like toss it in nutritional yeast, salt, and pepper and different spices to make it stick. But yeah, pickle juice is actually really smart. I'm actually gonna try that.
We're spreading the word here. Thank you, Rachel. Brian, do you have any tricks to your popcorn?
I use the old olive oil method. I spray it with light olive oil, and then I coat it, and then there is a popcorn salt, which is a very, very fine salt. You use a little bit less of it, and it'll mix well, and then a little pepper. So salt and pepper is kind of interesting, but I do use oil. So, that pickle juice is an interesting option. I may try that. But
Yeah, it just makes me think of like what other little tricks does Rachel have up her sleeve? So check
Yeah.
out Rachel and her book For Fork's Sake. Well, I have a few other new segments we want to try out on some other episodes, but the best way that you can support this podcast is to click like and subscribe beneath this video. So we hope whatever medium you're adopting and listening to us on, that you just take a moment to give us a comment, tell us what topics you want us to address. I mean, we are here to help other men and for that matter, anybody on the planet come to a more plant-based, whole foods lifestyle. I really appreciate Brian, Will, and Max jumping in here to help me unpack temptation and share some of their insights and experiences. Close us out, guys. How can the audience that's watching and listening get in touch with you, and where do they find you on the web? Max, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. If you just head over to fitvegancoaching.com, at the bottom, there's the links to everything. Our Fit Vegan podcast, which I've had Brian on, our Fit Vegan YouTube channel, our newsletter, Instagram, Facebook group. Everything is in one spot.
I love it. Thank you, Max. Appreciate you being here. Brian.
you can find me at bryanherskowitz.com. I also would love to give a shout out to my daughter's her YouTube channel, which is mad about animal mags. She's been a vegan since she was 2 years old, and is now she's a writer, actress, and also a animal scientist. Just got her master's degree from the University of Edinburgh, and has a really interesting video blog about animals and about veganism and about how we ethically treat animals. So if you love animals and you want information, she does everything from cosmetics and what animals are being tested on and what aren't, and just you watched one, I think, should we kill John Wick's dog, which I thought was a really interesting video. So please check that out. And but you can find me at bryanherskowitz.com.
Thanks, Brian, for being here. And Will, how do we get in touch with you? And I think you have a book out, right?
All right. So my latest book just came out this February. So it's called Young at Any Age: Secrets to Slowing the Aging Process. And it's my best work. And you could find anything related to me at trueironwill.com. It's TrueIronWill.com. And that's where you can find me at.
Well, we really appreciate you all joining us. Thank you so much, guys. And I hope you tune in next time for another awesome episode of the Real Men Eat Plants podcast. So take care, guys. Thanks for being here.
All right, you've reached the end of another enlightening episode of Real Men Eat Plants. We've revved up the man machine and explored the thrilling world of veggies. Remember, guys, flexing your manhood isn't about the size of the steak on your plate, but the strength of sprouts in your salad bowl. For those eager to continue their journey towards plant-powered masculinity, buckle up and head over to our website at realmeneatplants.com. There, you'll unlock access to exclusive content, mouth-watering recipes, and advice from the plant-based powerhouses themselves. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on social media for your daily dose of inspiration and connect with a community of men just like you who have joined the Plant Parade. Remember, it's not just about becoming stronger, healthier, and more vibrant. You're also becoming an eco-warrior, playing a vital role in the wellness of our planet. We appreciate your support and can't wait to catch up with you in the next episode. Until then, keep fueling your manhood with Mother Nature's pantry. And remember, with a sprig of humor, Real Men Eat Plants will be rooting for you until we meet again.